Hey everyone, so literally just had a comment on YouTube, so I thought I'd make a video to explain this. Someone was asking about the building I marked out in the video. Will it just be for special needs children? Which will be here, which used to be a dog kennel, hence the mesh. Before we were funded by Lush Cosmetics to build the big kennels, we only had one big one, so it was a headache. We had to teach them. Well, they would fight a lot anyway sometimes, so it wasn't working. Anyway, this area will be a special needs home, and what that will entail is 2 large rooms. So 1 large room for sleeping and 1 large room for daycare. Now, the reason we're doing it that way is the large room for sleeping means you can have less staff on a night time in the room with the children, because if there's a problem, they're in the same room as them, so we don't want them in separate rooms, so that's why we're doing that. So what you've just saw the builders building is another house for the community, which has been the funding for it came from donations, and a lady called Anne paid for half of that house on her own, actually, who's been a huge help to us, and I'm forever grateful. She even helped me to do the first ever Excel spreadsheet to keep track of the children way back when things first began, and I only had like 20 children in the fund, so Anne has been a huge support for me. So Anne has helped to begin that, along with other donations. Now this building, I had an amazing phone call from a lady called Clodagh, and Clodagh has donated enough money to get going building this building. So this is how it will work, so I can explain. Now this will be special needs building and communal building. These smaller houses are for single parents with special needs children. And the hope is if they can all move in here, which we do have people waiting to come. There's a great many. There's a great many in Tanzania need somewhere where they can share the duties of caring for their children, because they're going hungry. They don't even have anything to eat and stuff, you know, or they're leaving their children alone while they go and labour in the fields, and you know that the child's not getting cared for, and children are abandoned as well. I've heard too many stories. Thankfully I haven't come across any yet, but children are just abandoned, they're just left in the forest and things. Or they're neglected and not cared for, like Johanna, you know, where he was just laid on the floor tied up for 14 years of his life, and just they poured porridge in his mouth to keep him alive, so as they weren't completely neglecting him. It's just too much pressure. I think you all understand the pressures of having a special needs child here. When you yourself are going hungry due to the child, it gets too much for them. So those communal buildings will make use of the daycare building in the large building. So when they live here, the parents or parent will have the ability to go and work and to leave their child at the special needs home, the special needs house with the daycare room. Those other families who live in these houses, obviously their children will sleep with them in the house, whereas the ones who don't have parents will sleep in the other room of the special needs home. So, like I said, just 2 rooms, that's all it's going to be, 2 big rooms, possibly a 3rd room for washing and stuff like that as well. So, working hard, because like I say, we've got families ready to move in. Then we move on to the main house. So the main home, when that is finished, will then be fairly empty. There will be myself and the boys. Daniel will probably remain in there as well. But, and this is the big thing that you have to realise, and that I've had planned for a while. So Achille, when he came here, didn't say much, and you know, I don't actually share everything that happens with the children on camera, because not everything that happens to them is stuff that I think we should share until we know what's going on, basically. So to give you an example, One of the children that came into my care back in July, we caught that child abusing solvents. He was using solvents because he had lived on the streets, and he lived with the other street boys who, that's what they do to make themselves happy. They sniff glue, or they sniff petrol and whatever. You know what it's like, solvent abuse. We all have an education to some degree on that. So the volunteers and I in July, actually, he did it as a cry for help. He did it in a way that we would all know what he'd done. We all smelled it, we all ran to see what was going on. So his friend is still, his best friend is still in the town where he was sleeping rough. He was sleeping on the streets, and he told me how he and his friend they'd look for the stalls that had been cooking fish, had been cooking, barbecuing maize, or had been cooking meat, anything that had been cooking something, and they would sleep under those stalls because the heat from the fire would keep the ground warm for a few hours, so they'd get off to sleep. And these were boys who lived on, would you believe, because the town they were from, Hemo, sugarcane's a big commodity there, so they pretty much lived on sugarcane. They would steal sugarcane and just chew on it for energy and spit the pulp out. So sugar, that was their diet, sugar, and anything else they could scavenge on the street. That town is teeming with children who need a place to live. They need someone to love them. They need a family. Yeah, they need love in every sense of the word. The problem I have, and it's a reality that I haven't spoken about, but it is a reality. I will bring those children into my care. I am here and I will do that. It doesn't bother me, and it will be a difficult task because they've lived on the street. A lot of them have abused drugs. There's a lot of instances of abuse and molestation for children who live on the street, and a lot of them are very, very troubled. Very, very troubled young men and young women. They will come to live here when that house is finished. I will start an outreach. I've already made arrangements that will go at night time with the Maasai warriors, because a white man shouldn't walk around the town at night on his own, obviously. But the Maasai warriors will come as my security, and we will find the children. And we already know that the Maasai warriors who work as security in town know where some of them are sleeping, because they have to move them on reluctantly. The Maasai don't necessarily want to, but it's their job. Move the children off your property. For now, my hands are tied until I have a separate special needs unit, and I can call this a place for children without parents, who, you know, are able-bodied and able-minded but have just had a troubled start. I can't bring them here because the special needs children are then vulnerable. And I can't do that to them. I can't open up the special needs children to children who are so troubled and have been abused and molested and all the other things that can and does happen to these children on the street, because I can't guarantee the safety of the children who are already here if I do that. So this roundhouse will be designated for street children. This is what I'm going to do, and it will have its own cordoned off area, and of course they can interact with the special needs children, but I will do my best to ensure, you know, we'll ensure that there's a segregation, because when young men and women arrive who have had a troubled life, they have a different mindset to the other children, of course. So, and that will be what I start to do, and it will begin with us looking, which we've already started the first motions of trying to find Achilles' friend, because he talks about him often, but whether or not he stuck around in the town, we don't know. He was younger than Achilles. They would sleep together and they would steal sugarcane together, and he wonders how he is a lot, and we haven't been able to find him yet. So that explains what's going on. Special needs community is down here. This original house will fill up in an instant with children because there are a lot of street children in Hemo. There's a great many. We asked Killy how many are in Hemo, and he said you can't count them. You can't count how many children sleep on the floor outside at night time, he said. So anyway, we will get to them. We will. It kills me that I'm so close to them, but I've gone through this. When Killy first told me about his friend, I wanted to jump in the car and go and get him. But I'll go and try and find him. But I have to be realistic, like I say. I can't bring street children who have suffered drug abuse from the age of 7 and onwards, possibly younger sometimes, to a place where I have other vulnerable boys and girls. I have to do a segregation until we can rehabilitate those children that come from the street. So that hopefully explains it. The big building will be a large bedroom, possibly a washroom, and a daycare room, like a classroom. And that will be used by the parents living in the smaller houses and any special needs children we have who don't have any parents. And that will grow rapidly because now the government has heard about us. The government actually came to me for help the other day regarding a special needs child in the next village. So this gives you an idea of the state of affairs here when a government official who works for a government organisation that deals with special needs children came to myself to say I need your help. So because she had nowhere else to turn. And there's another child in the next village along who I suspect will be here within the next week, so I'll keep you posted on that anyway. Okay, so for now, I hope that explains everything. I think I've done okay explaining that for now. And I'm going to get off because Daniel is very, very sick, and unfortunately Dominic has taken a turn for the worst as well today. So I'm going to try, there's a fly in my face, I'm going to try and work out what's wrong with Daniel by talking to Dominic, because they both are having the same symptoms, it would seem. So, okay, much love, and catch you all in the next video, whenever that may be, because I'm just flat out at the moment. Okay, bye guys.
It's amazing, it's blessing, it's glorious, it's life-changing. This feeling is amazing, it's blessing, it's glorious.